Welcome to this episode of the Million Dollar Mastermind, where we get real world insights on winning from people who have accomplished amazing things. I'm your host, Larry Weidel, and let's get going. I'm back with Chris Achong, and we're talking about winning. And Chris knows winning. Anybody can run businesses in New York City. You've got to have respect for them, and especially Brooklyn. And so congratulations on, I don't even think I mentioned this before. You got your, one of your businesses is in the financial services agencies. You have 750 agents. You got 7 hubs.
Yep.
In 30, 40 states. And so had your biggest income month last month. And so things are booming. And so also glad to have you down here in South Florida when you can get down. How much time are you spending in Lauderdale?
I'm probably about, I would say I go for a month, then I disappear for a month. I'm living in like 4 different places now.
Where did your entrepreneurial energy come from and incitement? Where do you decided I want to be in charge. I want my own business. I don't care what it is.
Gosh, it started as a kid. I was one of these kids. They would call it, vagabond. I was one of these kids that I just disappeared all day, showed up at night. And I did this from the time I was 7, 8 years old. I grew up in the Caribbean. I was all over the place, hanging out. And then we came to the United States.
Where in the Caribbean did you grow up?
Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, okay.
Sweet soca. They call it soca music.
Okay.
My father was a big time musician, so he was an entrepreneur. He ran his own show. But, I came to the United States and I had a couple of jobs. And these jobs was really weird. You had to show up at a certain time and leave at a certain time. And you had to listen to everything they told you to do. And I went, oh, hold on a minute. I want to make my own schedule. And so when I started in sales and I started, I remember making my first sale and I think I made $300 or $400. I was like, if I got skilled at this and if I could learn how to do this anytime I wanted. So, you look at most people, they want to move ahead. To move ahead, you need new skills. And I had to learn, pretty much every skill that there is to know. I think I have a list of like 30 or 40 different skills that you have to learn, from people skills to, sales skills, all these different things. And, but I love the idea of chunks of money. I didn't like the idea of salary money. I knew that was, that wasn't healthy and it wasn't that much anyway. But I like the concept of chunks of money, systems of cash flow, which that's fun. It's how you get free to deal with cash flow. I think the first few years, most entrepreneurs, or what made us, I think, successful as an entrepreneur in the beginning, was we focused on cash flow. We didn't focus on saving or investing money into other things. We focused on constant, cash flow. Like, how can I get this business to, create a constant cash flow, not just cash flow, constant cash flow, where it continuously kept going up. And so we spent a lot of time working on a lot of systems, trainings and so forth, to get that in place. But that's when I got the bug. And I've had it since. Business is not a walk in the park, but, you try enough for them and you work really hard enough for them, you'll become successful,
When when did you come to the United States?
1987.
And you were how old?
12 years old.
12. Okay. So what was what kind of businesses did you do growing up?
I actually started a cleaning company when I was 16.
Really?
I was cleaning a church, believe it or not. And then I got a buddy to help me out and he stole some stuff. So I got fired. And so my first business collapsed. True story. And so that didn't work out really good. I was trying to, spread out a little bit, and I got, and then we got into the financial business, and that spilled over into restaurants, bars, fashion companies, galleries, real estate. Currently now, bread and butter is in the financial industry and a little bit of real estate. We have quite a bit of cash flow coming from both of them. But that's Real estate is, just recently, we kind of, stayed away from it for a lot of years.
Your other businesses, were they an outgrowth of your gallery business? The fashion, the restaurants, the entertainment type businesses?
Yeah, I was trying to build businesses based on my lifestyle, which
Yeah.
probably wasn't. So I'd made a bunch of money, and I was living. My story, what I'm known for is, I travel a lot. We had a big challenge early on in our life that made us realize that we're not promised tomorrow. We just got to live. And I started traveling, so I travel pretty much every month. Of my since I was since 2008, I've traveled every month. Yeah, it's just something that we
Is that
we started doing.
Did that get in your blood, you think, down growing up in the Caribbean, and your father was a musician bouncing around the islands playing and this, that, and the other? That just kind of gets in your blood. And so you're a traveler.
Yes, that's my way I spend, if you want to call it my leisure money. I don't own any fancy stuff yet, but I got a lot under my belt when it comes to traveling. That's my hangout. I love to just land somewhere where I've never been before, and in a week later, I meet half the town.
What happened to you early in your life that was just devastating, that gave you the wake up call and really challenged you?
Yeah, it's spent a couple years building the business I have right now. I did 2 years of aggressive 15, 18-hour days, and I built a pretty decent, substantial agency that was creating a pretty decent income. I actually went all the way from doing everything myself 2 years later to doing nothing, in a sense, just kind of managing it. We was doing probably 50, 70 sales a month. And I was just selling one thing, so from doing all the sales yourself to doing nothing. And then we had a challenge. My wife passed away. This was in 2008. And, it was devastating.
How old were you?
And this is what, as I coach, people through, the ability to stay focused and make sure you have something in place when these challenges happen. And, because things do happen in this world. We just had a crazy 2 years that just went through in the world. And thank God we had that business in place that gave us the ability to just kind of get free and, notice the world was still there, and, just, get back. We've recovered. Okay. Which, pretty much everyone does, but we've recovered. And it was an incredible lesson, terrible thing, but an incredible lesson that, made us tough.
How old were you when your wife passed away?
I was 32.
Okay, so you were 32,
Mhm.
and you're just not expecting these kind of things to happen. How did it gradually dawn on you, this is not going to end well?
No, she just woke up one day, got a stroke, and they said she's done. That's it.
Wow.
It wasn't a nothing showed, that she was going to get a stroke prior to that. I did nursing early on when I was, 19 years old. I went into nursing, and, you learn about these things.
Sure.
There's no one proof. Sometimes things just happen. And we're gone.
And so you're sitting there, and it happened. There's almost an advantage when they're quick, by the way, for the people that go and the people who are left behind, because it's like we're not going to debate this. It's done.
Yeah,
I don't have anybody to argue with over this. It's already, the decision was made. It's done. And so what did you, how long, because we started off this thing talking about mastering distractions. That's pretty good distraction at age 32 years old.
I was able to run my business, because which I believe in, it's a philosophy I believe in, is, you build a business, and, I've had a lot of conversations with people that work with me, but not because you built the business means you're free. You still have to run it. And so we learned how to run it on fumes, so to speak. I have a very direct personality, so I'm the loudest one in my organization. I'm not loud all day long. I'm loud from about 6 o'clock till around 9 o'clock in the morning. And most of the times after that, you can't find me. So I'm usually done working by 9 o'clock. I read in a book that, the times that different people wake up, and it was like CEOs wake up, billionaires wake up at 4 a.m. People that make million wake up at 5 or 6. And, and six, if you don't make six figures, you're supposed to wake up before 6 a.m. And so, and we also learned that you could run your business, if you set up everything, you have enough staff. So I believe in overstaff, not understaff. So I've always had more staff. I don't like, I like the concept of, letting Uncle Sam help me fund my businesses. We don't run our business like an individual. We run our business like a major corporation where they have a certain amount of money set aside for staff. And so because we have so much staff in place, we could stop at 9 a.m. So I'm usually done working by 9 a.m. My guys will tell you, I haven't done a meeting in the evening or at nighttime in years. Okay. It's usually if I do a leadership meeting or I'm running the show or whatever, it's early in the morning and then we're done by like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, the latest. I've been doing this for 12, 15 years.
Well, to do that, that's an offshoot of being able to learn new skills, because one skill you have to learn is to delegate, train and then delegate, and then also delegate and hold people accountable. You're not delegating and just you don't turn the dog loose to go walk himself. You know what I'm saying? You keep him on a leash. And so you don't, any kind of thing you want done, if you want to get big at it, you're going to have to train other people to do it so you can free yourself up to do other things. But you have to know they're actually doing it. You have to have systems in place that allows you to
That's exactly what it is.
Keep up with it. And so how did you learn the delegation skill?
Well, we couldn't do it. I've heard people say that you have to delegate, you can't get everything done yourself. But we just started putting a lot of systems. At first, we was an incredible, I think, role model. So the master copy, which was me, I taught, our leaders and, different people that worked with me, how it's supposed to be done, how you're supposed to work, and what kind of systems we need to have in place. If you have the right systems, the systems kind of run the accountability. And accountability for those systems. And it just kind of just falls into that. So if we did this at this time, we did this at this time, this is the time we do this for this part of the business, you'll have a constant, or consistent flow of success. And so, years ago, we did that. And we learned that from different mentors that just kind of, told us that, this, you should do this at this time, you should do that at that time. But it still takes work, so I do a lot of messaging. I do, a lot of texting on a day-to-day basis. I'll send out voicemails. I'll send, but, recognition is a big form of how to keep accountability and systems in place. Because you always have to recognize it, especially if it's going good. You want to give it extra recognition so people kind of move towards that direction. So, you got to become a master of recognition, basically, in business.
And where did you grow up in that kind of work for those kind of companies, or did you learn that from your own experience?
So, own experience, human behavior. I like to be recognized. I like to be told I did a good job. And I found out you could, it doesn't really matter what you pay people, just because you're telling them. So the money's just not enough. I'm saying, you have to be able to be there to give them a hug and let them know, hey, great job, especially if they're doing something out of the norm, or if they're, practicing great leadership, or they're managing something really good. So we got really great at that. And, I still do it all day long. I love doing it. There's nothing, especially the people that are coming up. It's one of my favorite things to do is to see entrepreneurs start growing, because we mentor a lot of people now, because a lot of people just call us and say, hey, can you help me with this? What do you think about this?
Right. And so to kind of wrap this part up, we were talking to start off with it, to move ahead, you've got to learn new skills. and you got to be, you got to improve, and you find out what to improve on is where your business is stalling out at and where you're having problems as a leader. And so the idea of developing skills, you said you started in sales, you had the sales skills, you had the leadership skills, responsibility, learning how to delegate, develop systems, create, build accountability into your system, learning how to communicate, developing the recognition skill. What are some other key skills that you would alert people that are on the way up to pay attention to and start to develop?
I mean, the most obvious one that always stands out, it's you have to outwork. So there's working smart, working hard. There's a whole fight against that, especially in this era right now, but I believe you got to work hard, and eventually you get to work smart if you work hard enough. So that's different things that, that we really just kind of stretch. You have to be open-minded. You have to have patience. All these are skills that you have to deal with to build the business. We went through everything. It's not that serious. This is probably the best one. Childhood disorders, how to, not necessarily, there's about 7 or 8 childhood disorders I have that, that people, jealousy and, always having to be right and all these different things. So you have to learn the skill, how to control, you can't be around people where you constantly do things that, that throw them off or make them not want to be around you. So your goal is to get people to feel like they're always
it's amazing,
the most important person in the room.
You're in New York, and it's, there's so many corporations there. It's amazing how many major corporations have CEOs who have never learned that lesson. Yeah. And, they go out there and they create all kinds of nightmares for themselves, and they wind up getting thrown out. And, it happens at all levels, and eventually they get thrown out, and they wish they could have hung around a little longer, because they probably were just getting to the point where they were really learning the job, learning the role, just getting good at it. But they reached the point where people just couldn't take all of their grief anymore, And
it's happened to me too.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to a point where sometimes you're overzealous, like you really want to win, but the strategy is just the wrong way. I've always wanted to win. I've always wanted people to be successful and do well. But sometimes you just, you rub people the wrong way, and you get under their skin a little too much where they don't want to be in the same room with you. We've been there, and, we had to work on getting people to trust us more. Years ago, I learned, if people don't like you, they're not going to let you coach them.
Right.
And so, they know that I love them. And, and so we have that, which is hard to do in business, but there's trust in place where, I have, if we're going to make more money, we're going to do it together. We're going to grow together as a business. And once people see that, they're, obviously there's going to be fights, there's going to be arguments, but.
And it's a fine line, Chris, from being tough to not being a bully. And it has to do with, they know that you've done it, you're working hard, you're paying the price, that they have, you have their interests at heart. You're not doing it to drive your income up. You're trying to get them to be accountable to themselves. And is a fine line, because a lot of times people don't, it doesn't come across the way we intended, is because they thought they were being bullied or bossed or whatever. Right. And we all develop our own style. Some people can get away with more than others. And I think you and I have figured out a way to get away with probably more than most people, because it's like, when you've been dumb yourself and you've been stupid yourself, you can say to people, don't be stupid,
right?
Because you're knowing what it, like, this is stupid what you're doing. Why would you say something like that? That's dumb. Because, you can, they can tell, or you can tell them, like, I used to think like that. And look where it got me. I had to change. Now you're going to have to change. We're all in the same boat together. We can't do dumb things. We can't say dumb things. We can't alienate people, but they can take it from you when they know you've lived that and you've been down and you were willing to be humble enough to admit it and do the change, because life, if you're going to be the spearhead for growth for your company, you're going to take the friction, you're going to be, the battering ram there, you're going to be the edge of the axe, and you're going to where the bulk of the grief will come on you. And so you've got to be willing, if you're going to stay sharp, you've got to be willing to shed the dullness, and allow yourself to get sharper and to get sharper. And it's, unfortunately, I can say that after decades in this thing, there always seems to be sharpening that needs to occur.
Absolutely.
You're rubbing people wrong. You say the wrong thing. You think of the wrong thing. It's like, okay, my bad. And so it's a constant. If we're willing to be constantly growing ourselves, it's easier for us to run our organization and challenge them to be doing the same thing. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. We grew in a lot of areas. I think one of the areas that, I always try to get people to work on, especially when you're in a leadership position, is you got to know when to use honey and when to use vinegar. And I found out most people, I have a list of people in my business, and some of them make really good money, but they're honey people. Like, you can't be tough with them. You give them a hug and they'll go do 10 times more than, and when you grow up the way I grew up, you know how to be tough with people and be direct with people. But sometimes, it's just maybe tell them how great they are and tell them, what you expect, having high expectations for them, and just inspiring them more than, stepping on them or, being too tough with them. Years later in business, we probably would have been 10 times more successful if we had a little bit more honey. Right. The vinegar, man, I knew how to dish it out, but we found out honey works better than vinegar most of the times. You can still be direct, but you got to do it in a honey format if you want to call it.
It's not
really
just
works.
Yeah, and sooner or later, the sooner you can learn, it's not just what you do, but how you do it. That is equally important. And so, thanks so much, Chris. That wraps up this episode. Consider leaving a rating and review if you like what you heard. In addition, I have a free video for you, and it contains my best insights from 20 years of running my own business and also coaching $1 million earners. You'll find it at whiteelonwinning.com/webinar. Thanks for listening, and do it big.